Welcome everyone to our admitted student welcome event. My name is Abby Kalkstein. I'm the Associate Director of Graduate Admissions at Penn Engineering, and I want to first start by saying congratulations on your admission to Penn. We are so excited to be meeting you and have you join us and answer any questions you have and kind of talk through any lingering questions you have before making final decisions if you haven't already. So I am joined today by an incredible group of staff, and I will be introducing them shortly. Really quickly, I just want to go over a couple of just things before we get started. So we are recording this session, so don't worry about taking any notes or anything like that. We are recording this webinar, so we will be posting this on our YouTube channel shortly. You can also see some of our past YouTube webinars. We are going to be utilizing the Q&A feature of this session, so please feel free throughout the entire session to put in any questions you have in that Q&A tool at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar. We will be answering those live, as well as my staff will be joining us and answering on the back end as well. So please feel free to add as many questions as you have. And then I want to just introduce some of the amazing folks we have joining us today. We are joined by Dr. Boon Thau Loo, who's the Senior Associate Dean. We're joined by Bailey Lackey, who is a part of the Office of Academic Services. Melinda Ingersoll is joining us from the International Student and Scholar Advisor Office. So for any international students that have questions, Melinda is a great person to ask. We're also joined by Sherelle Rutland, who works for the Graduate and Professional Aid Office, and then myself as well. I also want to give a shout out to some of my other teammates that are in the Q&A on the back end. We have some program staff here as well. So there's a number of Penn Engineering staff here to help answer any questions that you might have. Before we move on, I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Boon Thau Loo to give us a nice little introduction and welcome to who he is.
Thank you, Abby. Hi, everyone. I'd first of all like to give everyone a big congratulations. Getting into our master's program is no small feat. This is one of the most competitive years we have seen, and the fact that you're here means you truly stood out. So you should feel incredibly proud. You'll be joining a dynamic, diverse, and deeply talented group of students from all around the world. This is a community that values curiosity, collaboration, and drive. And we are very excited about the future that you're going to help shape. Now, for those of you who are international students, if you're already in the US on a valid F1 student visa and you're transferring your CBIS record to Penn, the process is quite straightforward. Our International Student and Scholar Services Office will reach out to you with detailed instructions. They are an excellent resource and will guide you through each step to ensure a smooth transition. Now, once your new Penn I-20 is issued, you'll be able to transfer your student status from your current institution and begin your academic career at Penn in fall 2025 without interruption. Now, if you're planning international travel before your program begins, please be mindful that leaving the US might require applying for a new F1 visa, particularly if your current visa has expired or will expire before your return. And visa processing appointment availability varies significantly by country, so it's important that you plan ahead. Now, some of you may know that many US consulates experience long wait times in the summer. So we would strongly encourage you to apply early, and ISSS can provide you individualized advising to help you weigh your options. And our goal at Penn Engineering is to ensure that you have a smooth transition to your graduate program and start here successfully in fall. Now, there's also the opportunity of taking summer classes if one of you would like to get a head start. We do have a small number of students who will start taking classes over the summer before coming in fall. This is a great way for you to ease yourself into the program and perhaps even graduate a little bit earlier. So if you're interested, just reach out to your program team. they'll be happy to help you explore options. Now, zooming out a bit, I want to say that this is a really great time to study engineering, research and innovation, especially here in the United States. Now, despite what you have read in the news, the US remains a global leader in technology, research, and entrepreneurship. This is still one of the best places in the world to learn, discover, and build your future. And at Penn Engineering, we're investing heavily in the future. Apart from the amazing faculty we have hired and continue to hire, we have recently opened the Amy Gutman Hall, which is a new hub for data science and artificial intelligence. The Vadulous Energy Center is advancing groundbreaking work in sustainability. We also have Venture Lab, which is a collaboration with our business school to support entrepreneurship and bold ideas from students like yourself. And these are not just buildings, they are places where ideas become impact and you'll be right at the center of it. Now, many of our master students go on to do incredible things. They continue on to top PhD programs around the world. Others lead in industry, whether at established tech companies or at startups still on the horizon. I had a great honor of being in Seattle recently, which is a major tech hub where many of our students are. And I met students who graduate from 1991 to 2024. It was great to see everyone doing great, having impact in various tech companies. And as you begin your journey here, we are very excited to help you build it. And on a personal note to our international students, many of us in school leadership, including myself, were once international students. We understand the challenges and the courage that it takes for you to leave home to study far away. I want to reiterate that you're welcome here, you're valued here, and we are fully committed to your success. Once again, thank you for joining us today and congratulations. We can't wait to see everything you will accomplish at Penn Engineering. So Abby, I'll hand this off back to you.
Thanks so much, Dean Liu. And I absolutely want to echo those sentiments as well. So next, I'm going to pass things along to Bailey and the Office of Academic Services.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bailey. I'm a graduate advisor in the Office of Academic Services. I also work along Courtney Johnson and Elise Edwards, and we help provide you support during your time here. We are support for more general questions related to academic policies and procedures. So things we can help you with are transferring programs, or if you want to add a second major or degree to your plan. Taking and returning from leave of absences, questions about changing student status, so whether you want to be full-time or part-time. For international students, we handle CPT, OPT, and RCL along with our friends at ISSS. And then we can also connect you to university resources outside of engineering. And then we handle a lot of the process and ceremony details for graduation. So I'm pretty sure I already saw some questions in the chat about course registration. So that'll happen early in the summer. Where you'll go is Path at Penn. That's where a lot of information you will put in there. Pretty much you'll refer to that consistently. So each program handles registration differently. So you'll want to get to know your graduate administrator. We have all of the program contacts at the links below, but you can also find them on our website. Courses and waitlists do fill up, so registering sooner is better if available. And some courses require permits to register. So you'll need to contact your graduate administrator for that. For registering for the fall, please wait to hear from your graduate administrator. They will be reaching out with all the information you need in the summer, and they will be able to get you processing for registration for the fall. And then these are just some important dates to note. So August 22nd, we'll have our new student orientation, and the first day of classes is going to be August 26th. We do have deadlines to add classes or drop and to get your full refund. And that's tentatively September 9th right now. We'll have fall break in October. And we're still waiting on a couple of dates, but then the end of the semester will be December 18th. And the last day of classes is December 8th. Again, you can find all of this information on our website if you need to refer back to it.
Hi, everybody. I'm here with my colleague Erin, who may help answer some of the questions. We're trying our best to also answer the questions in the chat. So when I'm done here, I can also go back and look at some of the questions after I finish our slides here. But welcome, everybody. Congratulations. I work for ISSS. I am an advisor here, and I wanted to kind of go over a little bit about what we do and how we support students. Kind of some of the things we do is first, you will be working with our staff to give you the initial I-20 so that you can make your appointment to get your visa. So all of that early stages, you'll be working with us to get you here in the country and to help process your visa and any questions you have prior to arriving on campus. We're here for you. And then once you're here, you'll have folks like myself who will be your designated advisor. If you have questions about CPT, OPT, and all the other things that you need to do to remain in status. I know there's some questions regarding um, employment and on-campus employment and things like that. That's what we're here for. We have virtual drop-ins and we have regular online virtual appointments that you can make. We also have a variety of intercultural partnerships with other programs. So we have activities and events. Once you get here, we have a robust orientation. We also have different programs that our office provides regarding different holidays, different religious celebrations. We do different outings to different sites, get you involved in Philly and in Pennsylvania as a whole. And basically, what we do is try to get you socially interactive with other students and get to know us a little bit more through our activities and our events. Okay, so each student, again, like I said, is assigned an advisor like myself. Your advisor, me, would be kind of your firsthand person for all immigration inquiries. So anything to do with, again, your I-20 needing a travel signature to once you're finished, you can apply for STEM extension and OPT. Folks like myself would be there as your assigned advisor. We have what's called IPEN. So if you haven't already, make sure you take a look at IPEN. It's an different than Path at Penn. So we do all of our e-forms and advising through iPen. So please get familiar with iPen. A lot of what we do is through e-forms. So if you need anything from us, you can fill out a form and we can help guide you through signatures and things like that. Um, Again, some of the things we do also is travel signatures. We advise you and help you if you're traveling abroad once you're here. We talk about employment. We have workshops on CPT and OPT and other employment workshops we host. And basically, we're here to help you maintain your status and guide you through that process. And also, again, as I was saying, we have an integration team to help kind of make you feel more welcome at Penn and meet other folks like yourselves. Okay, ISS will process documents, like I was saying. We do have our iPen portal, and again, get familiar with that. That is, again, very much our kind of point of reference for all of our e-forms, not Path at Penn. So, and on your iPen, you will see who is your designated advisor, so you can reach out to them as well. And it's also our way to communicate with other advisors. If we've talked to you, we put in notes so that other advisors know that we've answered some of your questions. And again, you can also email us too if you have any questions. So right now, you're probably in the process of applying for your I-20. And so you will receive your I-20 through our office. It takes about 3 weeks during peak season. I saw a question earlier. How long does it take? And Erin, thank you so much for helping answer some of those questions. And so it will take about, again, 3 weeks to get your I-20. If you're transferring to another school, you're going to fill out a form where you're going to release your I-20 to us. So once you are transferring, the university will release your I-20 to us, which means that you will keep the same CVIS ID number and you will not have to pay that 901 fee. Again, that's only if you're transferring your I-20 to us. And again, make sure that your visa is valid if you're leaving the country. So let's say you are transferring, but you want to go home this summer. Make sure that visa is valid to re-enter the country. That's a common mistake sometimes. And you can make your appointment with the embassies abroad. You cannot make an appointment and get a visa in the US. You have to be abroad in order to do that. Expect some delays right now. There could be some delays as far as visa appointments and things like that. Luckily, the Department of State has now reactivated the visa wait time list. So that was deactivated for a few months, but now it's back and running so you can get an idea of what the visa wait times are. But you do need that initial I-20 to make that appointment for your visa. So I think the first step is, again, make sure that you have that I-20 from our staff, and then you can go on and make your appointment for your visa. Oh, and also one other thing too, we can't influence the process, and we get a lot of emails and queries about, can you give me a letter to expedite? Unfortunately, we can't do that. So just make sure that you're keeping in mind the time frame and doing everything you need to do to secure that visa appointment. Thank you. Yes, it's important to do an online arrival e-form. And so once you arrive here at Penn's campus, there's a online arrival e-form that makes this. So when you get your I-20, it's called an initial I-20, and it doesn't get active until you actually get here. So the initial I-20 is great. It gets you your visa, gets you into the country. But once you're here, we have to then activate it, saying that you actually arrived and now you're here. And in order for us to do that, we need you to fill out that online arrival e-form, and that's through the iPen that you will see. And so make sure that you do that. You do not need to visit our office. You just need to fill that form out online. It will take, again, a couple of weeks for us, though, to register everybody and to make sure that you are in the system as being on campus and you have arrived and you do have that active I-20. So just give us some time for that. And you will then get what's called a new I-20, which is, we'll say, continue attendance. So the one you originally get is called initial, and then the new one you will get is called continue attendance. So you'll get the continued attendance once you get here onto Penn's campus and have filled out that new arrival form. Okay, you must be active full-time student. Yes, some of the regulations are a little different than domestic students, so please make sure that you're aware of that. Because you are international, there are different requirements. You must be considered full-time, which is 3 CUs. If you have a medical emergency or something else, you do need to work with us and your advisor to get that cleared if you need to do a reduced course load or take a leave. But to maintain status, you have to have three CUs. Um, you have to drop an ad and you have that period until mid-September. Please make sure you're minding the academic calendar and dropping and adding classes that you need, but again, maintaining that 3 CUs. And so we will be making sure and checking your enrollment. And if you're not fully enrolled, you'll be getting lots of emails from us nudging you to make sure that you're enrolled. And again, you will need permission if you are taking a reduced course load. So here are some resources. We do have a really great online presence and social media presence. You can follow us on Instagram. We have our Facebook page. We also now have a new kind of AI robot that's helping. It's a chat bot that will help kind of answer questions right now for OPT, but we're going to start adding new things to that so that can provide you with some resources without having to contact an advisor. And we do our immigration services, integration programs. And we also have a weekly newsletter that we send out that you can get access to and subscribe to see what we're doing in our office.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, both Melinda and Erin. I see you typing furiously in the Q&A portion of things. So I know there were a couple of questions that came in and will probably continue to come in if you don't mind just keeping your eyes peeled in the Q&A. Thank you so much. And for any attendees, if you have additional questions, again, please feel free to, this is the time to ask any questions that you have. And now I'm going to pass it on over to Sherelle with Graduate Aid.
Hi, good morning, all. Congratulations, congratulations. I just disclaimer, apologies if you hear any construction in my background. They are working all over my home outside today, so apologies ahead of time. But congratulations and welcome many of you to Penn. I just wanted to go over a few things that are very important for deciding how you will pay for your career here at Penn. So the first thing is that the University of Pennsylvania does offer payment plans. Currently, we have payment plans offered in fall, spring, and an introduction this year for summer payment plan. It has been our first introduction to having a summer payment plan this academic year. To sign up for a payment plan, it is $50. There is a fee, and it must be signed up for each academic semester. So signing up in fall does not automatically enroll you in spring and vice versa. Fall signups begin May 15th for domestic students and June 23rd for international plans. And the summer plan is a 3-month plan or a 3-month span. Some information about outside scholarships. If interested in giving some outside scholarship opportunities, we definitely advise speaking with your embassy. There may be some sponsorships for international students. For all students, we all actually offer or suggest talking to your current employer. Your employer may offer tuition remission, which could assist with the overall cost of attending. Also researching STEM-specific scholarships. For those students who are qualified, U.S. citizens and eligible non-citizens may apply for federal student loans. To do so, the first and most important thing you must do is to complete the FAFSA application. The FAFSA must be completed each academic year. It is something that you want to get done sooner than later so that you are aware of what you're eligible for each academic year. Again, students are eligible if you are a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. Here on the slide as well, on the website, we have a checklist that will go over all of the application details for the FAFSA as well as deadlines. Once you've completed the FAFSA application, for those students starting in the fall of 2025, you want to make sure that you are doing the 2025-2026 FAFSA application. At certain times during the academic year, you'll see that 2 FAFSA applications are available, but specifically for you, starting in the fall, you want to complete the 2025-2026 FAFSA application. For students that complete that FAFSA application, you will be eligible for unsubsidized direct loan in the amount of $20,000 and $20,500 for the academic year. It's split up between the fall and spring semesters. One thing that I want to very much stress is that to be eligible for any type of federal loan funding, you must be what we consider half-time enrolled. And what is half-time enrolled at the University of Pennsylvania is 2 credit units or more. So if you are ever enrolled in less than 2 credit units, you will not be eligible for federal aid. So that is very important to make sure that you are enrolled in a number of the 2 credit units in order to be eligible for the loan funding. And after getting or being awarded the $20,000, $500 for the academic year in unsubsidized loan, we will also offer to you the Graduate Plus loan. You can borrow the Graduate Plus loan up to cost of attendance, which means that you can borrow for things that may not necessarily be billed to you directly. So your living costs, your transportation, books and supplies, you may also be able to borrow those things or those expenses while you're here at the university. And you may borrow up to cost of attendance. So that will be depending on the amount of credit units that you are enrolled in. All of that will be a part of your budget that will allow you to borrow up to the cost of attendance for the year. For international students, we do have a website. We have a historical lenders list that you can take a look at to review some lenders that we have worked with historically. We have a few lenders, if you're borrowing without a U.S. cosigner, they may make sure to check before applying for any private loan whether or not a U.S. cosigner is needed for your lender of your choice. If you need loan funding, also you can also talk to your bank in your country regarding a personal or educational loan. Either for you want to make sure that you're taking into account when applying for either a private or a loan through your bank that you are looking to see whether or not you're factoring in both the living cost as well as your tuition and fees that you will be charged here at the university.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sherelle. Again, I do encourage any attendees who have any additional questions about grad aid and all things around that to please feel free to put that information and questions in the Q&A, and we will get to those either live or on the back end of things. I want to take a couple of minutes to talk through about the requirements for transcripts for students who plan to matriculate. So if you are a student who has studied or is studying in the United States, we do require final official transcripts that contain degree conferral. So degree conferral is kind of a fancy way to just say the date that you officially graduated and met the requirements of your bachelor's degree. So if you are currently enrolled and probably finishing up classes right now, you will not have a degree conferral right now. So don't send us an official transcripts at the moment. If that is the case, wait until after you graduate, because we really need to see that you have met all the requirements of your undergraduate program. So that might happen in May, that might happen in June. And then for folks who are or have studied outside of the United States, we do require a course-by-course evaluation from all of the schools that you've attended, and it has to be from a NACCES accredited organization. Now that list of NACCES accredited organizations is pretty long, and we do have a handful here that our students tend to have the kind of fastest and best opportunities with. So these are just suggestions. But again, that transcript also must contain degree conferral. So if you are currently in a program, maybe finishing up or getting ready to finish up, you can start the process now, but just know that we do need to see the degree conferral from a NACCES accredited organization. For folks in some countries where you might not graduate until as late as July, which might make it very difficult to get your transcript in a timely fashion before the start of classes. If that is the case, you'll want to reach out to our office so that we are aware. And additionally, you'll want to talk to your school registrar in order to get a confirmation letter from them, and they can send that directly to our office that essentially states that you've met the requirements of your undergraduate degree. So if you have any questions about that, of course, please follow up with our office. I'm happy to kind of go through any personal situations that you might have. It's obviously going to be a little bit different for everyone, but especially for those evaluated transcripts, this process can obviously take a little bit of time. So for folks who are able to start this process early, so if you've already graduated from your undergraduate program, go ahead and get this process started because it can take a little bit of time. And again, if you have any more specific questions about your personal situation, feel free to send us an email and we can chat with you about the next steps for that. And now I want to go ahead and get into some additional questions that came in. I know everyone has worked really hard in the Q&A, but I also want to be mindful that we're recording this and going to put it on YouTube. So I do also want to address just some of those common questions live so that we can use this for future sessions. So another question I saw relatively frequently that's related to admissions is questions about deferrals. So if you are interested in deferring your admission for whatever reason, you can defer for up to 1 academic year. So that would be, as an example, if you applied for fall of 2025, you could defer up to fall of 2026. You cannot defer past that. So if there are extenuating circumstances and you cannot attend after you defer, you would have to reapply and resubmit an application. But the first step in the deferral process is actually accepting your offer of admission. So you'll need to accept your offer, pay the enrollment fee, and then you can request to defer. And there's just a really brief form that you would need to fill out. It would go to the program specifically. So the program really is the one who would make the final decision. And then if they approve your deferral, you would get notified about that as well. You would also get notified if your deferral did not get approved. But that is generally what happens. You'll see that deferral form once you accept your offer of admission in your application status portal. So let me go ahead and go to some of the other questions we've received. Okay, I know we've gotten a couple questions on, when you can start enrolling in classes and how they can kind of begin that process. Bailey, do you mind just kind of going over once again when that process really begins and when people can expect to perhaps get more information about when to enroll for fall classes?
Yeah, sure. So, if you've already accepted your offer, you should be receiving emails from us, just giving you little tips and tricks before you get here. But each program will be reaching out to their incoming students this summer, and they will be the ones to help set you up for registering. So you'll want to wait for those to come out. And once you get contacted, then you can kind of get that process going. That should be probably about midsummer. So you'll just need to wait for that, and then your program coordinators can help you get set up for your classes for the fall.
Perfect, great. And I saw a couple of these questions regarding when someone can expect to receive information on their Penn key and Penn email. And so just to be very clear, this happens after you've accepted your offer of admission. So once you accept your offer, you will get a slew of different emails and communications, not only from the engineering admission office, but from different offices at Penn to really get you set up in the many Penn systems that we have. You've already heard about a couple of them, Path at Penn, iPenn. I promise it gets easier to track all of those Penn systems, but that does happen only once you've accepted your offer of admission. But you should be getting communication within about 24 to 48 hours after you accept your offer regarding your Penn key and some of those additional next steps. So if you have accepted your offer and you're not receiving anything, feel free to contact the admission office and we can touch base and see if there's any issues or anything that would be holding up your student record. But generally that is the timeline, 24 to 48 hours. Another question I saw a couple of is how to find contact details for the program that you were admitted into. For example, if you want to ask questions about curriculum, courses, really any type of question that's better suited for the program itself. So as Bailey said, and as a couple of the program staff have weighed in, you will be getting more communication from the specific program that you were admitted into come June. So it'll take a little bit of time, but you will still have plenty of time to navigate the courses and course selection and all of those things. So you will be getting plenty of email communication. And you will also have plenty of email communication before then from us to make sure that you're really set up in all of those systems, as I said, before you really need them. Let's see. Bailey, there have been a couple questions about orientation and what students can expect at orientation. Is it required? Are there any online components? Can you just talk a little bit about if there are any plans so far for orientation?
So orientation is really a chance for you to get to know your program. Your program contacts will be there. There will be faculty there, so you'll be able to chat with them. I'm not aware of a online component of it. Courtney, if you know any different, please feel free to step in, or any of the program coordinators. But it's just a chance to meet some of your fellow peers and get to know some people before classes start.
Awesome. Great. And I saw a few questions about immunization requirements for students in order to come to Penn and study at Penn. And I want to say we've gotten a couple questions about that in general to the admission office and to various offices. And that is a very specific question and request that really has to go to the office is called Wellness at Penn. So it is really all wellness very holistically, but does include immunizations, different requirements that have to happen before you can come to campus and study in person. So unfortunately, those things are not handled by the admission office. They're really more so handled by the Wellness at Penn office. We don't have a representative during this session, unfortunately, but I do encourage you, if you have questions or you're having issues with their portal, to reach out to their office directly because they're going to be the ones who will be able to assist you, and just make sure that you have all of the necessary immunization and documentation required to come to campus. Let's see. And I also saw a couple of questions. I don't know, Erin or Melinda, if you can answer this, but it seems like someone has registered for their Penn key a couple of days ago, but can't log into the I-20 website, which I believe is iPenn. Is there any solution for students who are facing that issue?
Yes, what we would recommend is they can email one of us or just email at the ISS office, and we will make sure that we give them access. They do have limited access to their iPen, but also we have to make sure that they have all their documents submitted and things like that in order for them to get their initial I-20. So I'd have to look up the student and see where they are in the process. So it may be that we still need some more documentation from them.
Perfect. And another question that we got a couple of, and I know we get a good number of emails about, so it might be good to just address. What is the policy? Can maybe Courtney or Bailey talk about the policy of transferring between programs once you enroll in a program?
Yeah, so transferring between programs, you do need to complete one full semester before you transfer into a different program. So our recommendation is usually to speak with the program that you are hoping to transfer into. That way you can learn if there are any requirements once you have started that you need to you need to complete before you can transfer over there. But once you have completed your first semester, that's when you can transfer into another program.
Perfect. Great. I hope that was helpful for folks. We've also gotten a couple questions on housing for Penn students in general. What's the timeline? How to find roommates, things like that. And I want to encourage students to check out. We have an office actually of off-campus housing, very difficult to say. And they have a number of really great resources in general, one of which is a virtual tour of different options for students, really nearby campus. So one of the great things about Penn is that it's located in a city, so there's a ton of different really options of neighborhoods to live in. I would say many graduate students do live right around campus, so there's a ton of different options. Very walkable, very bikeable, scooterable, you can drive. There's a lot of options nearby that students can utilize through the Office of Off-Campus Housing. So they get you set up with kind of communicating with a landlord, getting you tours of different apartments, especially for folks who, might be moving here pretty much right before classes start and don't have time to look for apartments. So that is a really great resource that I do suggest checking out. And it will really depend on if you want a roommate, if you want roommates, kind of your general expectation to will dictate your cost of living. It really is going to be dependent on you as an individual, but there's lots of different options in terms of if you want to live alone, if you want to live with a whole bunch of roommates, different groups to kind of meet and chat with potential roommates as well. So that is the Office of Off-Campus Housing, and they will be a great resource for all things really living in Philadelphia. Let's see. And for folks wondering if they can get the PowerPoint at the end, yes, go ahead and send our office an email if you're interested in it. We can send it over to you. And then just as a reminder, we're also putting this on our YouTube page in the next couple of days, so you can also refer back to this entire session. And in terms of health insurance, that's another thing that the Wellness at Penn office, it does require, you do have to have health insurance to study at Penn. So that is something that you can get through Penn, but you'll want to really contact that office just to go through any details of your specific situation, your specific requirements. Right. Let's see, any new questions? If you are a domestic student and you're sending your transcript through Parchment, which is an electronic service, that is absolutely fine. Please make sure that you select the option of graduate admissions for C's instead of the undergraduate office. If it goes to the undergraduate office at Penn, it will take a really, really long time for us to get it because that happens to them quite a bit. So they get a lot of emails about that. So to expedite things, please, not just for Parchment, but for any service you're utilizing, you might just type in University of Pennsylvania, but just know there's probably a couple of different options. Typically, the University of Pennsylvania is the undergrad office, which is entirely separate from our admission office and the other graduate school admission offices. So please just be mindful of that when you're selecting a school. You want to try to get as specific as possible in selecting graduate admissions at C's. Let me just see other questions. Okay, and I saw this question come in a couple times. So, Sherelle, I'm going to ask if there are any federal grants possible if you've submitted a FAFSA, and how are students able to see how much aid is available prior to accepting their offer?
Sure. So for grant funding, unfortunately, graduate students are not eligible for federal grant funding. Through the federal government, they offer the unsubsidized loan and graduate plus loan that we discussed earlier for graduate students. As far as seeing your offer, as a graduate student for federally, I should say, we begin to package mid to late May to officially see your award. But you can guarantee if you completed the FAFSA application and have completed the necessary steps in your portal, in your checklist, you'll receive an offer letter, but you can also determine that based on you completing the FAFSA application that you will be eligible for the $20,500 in unsubsidized loan that will be offered between the fall and spring semester. The Graduate Plus loan, however, does require a credit check. So it is something that once you've accepted in your financial aid portal, the federal government would complete a credit check to determine if you are eligible for that loan. So unlike the unsubsidized loan, which is completed based on the FAFSA application, you do have to complete or go through a credit check for the Graduate Plus loan. So you can definitely count on the unsubsidized loan if you completed the federal FAFSA application and completed all the requirements in your checklist, and you have the opportunity to borrow the Graduate Plus loan up to the maximum cost of attendance. So that would cover your tuition and fees. And if you like to borrow for living expenses, books and supplies, and other items while you're here, you can do that as well.
Great. We've gotten a number of questions about TA and RA opportunities. That's always a really common question. And so my suggestion would be to really reach out to your program specifically. They're going to have more insight on what is available to you as an incoming student. So I would suggest reaching out to your program coordinator specifically. Another question we got was about our employment outcome report. So this is a report that our Career Services Office completes every year with the most recent graduated class data of their career outcomes. So, how average salary, where they're working, what types of environments they're working in, also if they're continuing their education. So this career outcome survey can be found on our website. We don't have the most recent one for the class of 2024 yet. It does take a bit of time for for our team to be working on this, but you can find the most recent one on our website if you look up our career outcome survey, and it's a pretty in-depth survey. It's also broken down by program, so you can look at things really generally, but you can also get a little bit more specific. I do encourage you to take a look at those different options for you. And I would also say, just as part of the benefit of a Penn student, but specifically as an engineering student, is you get access to our career services team forever. So if you graduate from Penn, you obviously have those services available to you as a student, but as an alumni, you can always come back and utilize Penn's career service opportunities. So if you are, 20 years graduated and you want to pivot your career or change paths or just revamp your resume, what have you, you can always use those resources. It's another really great Penn benefit that I don't think enough people probably utilize or remember. So it's just something to think about. You have ample opportunities as a student. So engineering has our very own career services office. And then there's also a more general Penn career services office. So we really try to cater it to engineering students and the routes that they take. That can be very different for each student, obviously, but that's another benefit to consider as well. All right. And my colleague went ahead and put the career survey in the chat for you to see. And for international students who are not sure if your university is an accredited institution, there's a couple things I want you to keep in mind is that information should be either on your transcript or on your school's website. If it's a school outside of the United States, you will have to have your transcript evaluated by an ACES institution, and that will also determine if your institution is accredited. You can also reach out to any of those institutions to ask. There's a couple of different routes there. Let's see what other questions. And I do wonder, I'm not seeing any specific questions about this, but we do tend to get more general questions about this. Melinda or Erin, if you can offer any like advice for students right now in terms of if they should, like what they should be doing now, especially if they are already in the United States, any concerns that they should be mindful of, or any general advice that you have to give.
Sure. Um, I think if you're currently in the United States, again, the big thing is to check your visa status. If your visa is expired, you can still stay here legally, but if you do decide to leave the country, you will need a new visa unless you're from Canada. So that's important to know. Also, there's been a lot of questions about real ID that's coming up for international students. You do need a valid visa for a real ID. So if you're applying for a real ID, you do need a valid visa. You can apply for a real ID now. And as long as you have the valid documents and you can go on to whether state you're in or PennDOT to look at the required documents. If you do not have a real ID, that's okay as well. What is a real ID? A real ID is a new ID that's being issued by our Department of Motor Vehicles or DMV. It's a new license that's required by Americans starting in May. They're going to be implementing this more for domestic travel. We'll need to have an ID that specifically is called a real ID. And there's a little bit more steps involved and more paperwork involved in order to get this new real ID. But when you are traveling domestically, you can use your passport if you do not have a real ID in lieu of a license, because unfortunately, licenses are not going to be as valid coming up. So make sure you have your passport with you. We get a lot of questions about documents while they're here in the States, what they should carry with them. Um, we definitely recommend carrying copies of your documents at all times. Do not carry your original documents. Also, make sure they're physical copies instead of electronic copies, whether it's your I-20, your I-94 is also important to have, your passport, a copy of your passport, and have that with you in case you're asked for your documents, but you do not need the original, so make sure those are safe, but again, the copies. Um, some other things about traveling. I know this is a very anxious time for everybody, and there is a lot of uncertainty. What we have been telling international students is that once you are a Penn student, you are going to be well informed. We have several different sites that we have that are Penn Key protected, that once you're here, we will be giving them to you, that have specific instructions on when you do travel into the country through the port of entry, if you have secondary inspection or anything like that. Also, we're keeping everyone updated on any other executive orders or things that are going on. A key thing too is social media posts. They are being monitored. This has come up quite a bit. So please make sure you're aware of your social media and what you are posting. That has been an issue coming up with this administration currently. So keep aware of what you're participating in as far as protests and things here domestically, because that could impact you. So be aware of, also, anything that regards any type of crime or parking tickets to anything, just make sure you're paying your parking tickets, make sure you're doing everything you need to do to be a good citizen. So therefore you're not being tracked in any way. I know that's been a lot of questions about that. But for the most part, I do want to say this, and I've been telling students this, that out of the over 10,000 international students and scholars we have, we've only had a few that have been impacted by visa terminations, and now they have been reactivated. So I just want to ease some of that anxiety. Also, during spring break, we had over, I would say, 2,000 international students that were traveling that all came back without any problems getting back into the country and back to Penn. So rest assured that we are here to support you and to help you through this, and then also understand that the impact is kind of small given the large amount of international students we have here at Penn.
Wonderful. Thank you, Melinda. That's really helpful. I know we've been getting a lot of questions and rightfully so,
Sure,
a lot of anxieties. So that's
definitely.
really helpful. All right, so I also want to just take a moment to put the admission office contact information up. Again, if you are interested in having these slides after the fact, I know some of these slides have links and contact information for my colleagues. Please feel free to send this graduate-admissions email an email, and we will send that over to you. You can also connect with us in various ways. So that is our YouTube channel, which I said we will in a couple days. This will be posted on YouTube, so you can take a look at that. Feel free to connect with us in any of these different avenues. And once again, if you have specific questions about like your personal situation with transcripts or anything else, of course, send us an email and we will get back to you as soon as we can. One last thing I just want to add in terms of dates and deadlines to be mindful of. So if you have not already accepted your offer of admission, please accept your offer by June 1st. And there is a $300 enrollment deposit that gets added. It's put onto your student bill, so it's credited to your student bill. But please, that is a deadline to enroll. And for international students who have not yet accepted your offer, we don't begin the visa process until you've accepted your offer of admission. So please just be mindful that the sooner that you do accept, the sooner that we can get that process started for you. So in general, please be mindful of that date. I will certainly be sending you emails as reminders. And then for anyone who has already accepted their offer of admission, please reach out to us. You can reach out to your program specifically. And just as my team said, the programs will be reaching out to you next month to really get things started. So now's the time to ask questions and get any last minute concerns answered. One final thing before we sign off, there is one more of these admitted student webinars happening a week from today, so on May 8th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to join for another one, please feel free. We will have really the same offices in attendance for those. But if any, additional last minute questions come up or you just want to join again, please feel free. That is, you'll get an email about that as well. So thank you all who have attended. I hope you got your questions answered. And I also want to give a big thank you to all of my panelists that joined and answered your questions, and especially folks on the back end who might not have presented, but I saw were answering a ton of different questions as they came in. So please reach out for any additional concerns, and thank you all so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day.